Audrey Sebastian was born Audrey Marie O'Rourke in 1913. Her parents, Fred, of Irish descent, and Tilly, of Swedish descent, raised Audrey and her siblings on a beautiful farm in Arcadia, Michigan. Here is Audrey with her little sister, Emilie. Audrey came first, followed by Margaret, Emilie, and finally little brother Tom. They were farm children and enjoyed the fruits and vegetables of their 80-acre plot. In this photo on the farm, Audrey's the one in the top hat. Fred worked the farm dawn till dusk. Tart cherries, his chief crop. Tilly, a seamstress, made the kids' clothes and lots of homemade bread and jam. Just a mile and a half east of their fields lay Lake Michigan, a worthwhile hike for a summer swim. Audrey graduated from Arcadia High School and a few years later, at age 20, nursing school. While at Mercy Hospital Nursing School, Audrey met Dr. Bill Meade. He saw Audrey's skills firsthand and hired her right out of school. Audrey worked by Dr. Meade's side in Manistee, treating the sick, delivering babies, and assisting in surgery. During this time, Audrey met Jim Sebastian on a blind date. Jim was starting a business selling casters and told Audrey he had little time for romance. Meanwhile, Audrey grew in her career and was even elected as president of the Nursing Association in Northern Michigan. But she was also determined to grow the relationship with Jim. On October 1st, 1938, Jim and Audrey were married. They honeymooned in Harbor Springs, but just 3 days into their trip, Jim received a phone call, a big caster order for his new enterprise. The newlyweds headed home. In 1939, Audrey and Jim moved to Grand Rapids for the growing business that later became Rapistan, a worldwide materials handling company. Thrilled to be just a short drive from Lake Michigan, Jim and Audrey bought a cottage at Port Sheldon, and Jim bought a sailboat, the Wandelar, even though he didn't know how to sail. Here they are out for a sail with friends. Eventually, Jim and Audrey bought 1100 Cambridge, a house big enough for what would become a large family. First came a son, Jim, then John, Mike, and Dave. And finally, 12 years after Jim was born, Audrey got her girl, Anne. Times were good and busy. The neighborhood was lively. And the Sebastian home, with all those kids, the center of the action. The perfectly pitched driveway was always a source of daring adventures. In the summers, the activity moved to Lake Michigan. The Sebastian children swam and fished and boated on Pigeon Lake and the Big Lake. Many good memories were built at the Port Sheldon cottage. The growing conveyor business gave Jim and Audrey a great excuse to see the world. They traveled lots, while their beloved Fontella looked after the children. All of the Sebastians got a taste of the Wild West, with visits to the Circle Z Ranch in Arizona. While Audrey and Jim experienced so many places, no place was quite like home. And they proudly embraced the excellent schools and the welcoming community of Grand Rapids. They generously gave much of their time and resources to their city. No place was better to spend with family and to show off to visitors than the cottage on the creek. Jim envisioned it and even had a hand in making the dream come to life. Yes, that's Jim driving the front loader. The end result was spectacular. No one could argue. The view, the big open cottage, the endless beach, the creek, it is simply the most beautiful place on earth. The cottage would become a very special spot for many years to come. Each of Jim and Audrey's children married, and all are still married. Audrey was very proud of this and loved each of her children's spouses. As grandchildren came along, 11 in all, they experienced the wonder of the cottage and spending time with their grandparents, cousins, aunts, and uncles. Now their children, the great-grandchildren, live for their time in the sand and fresh water of Lake Michigan. When Audrey became a grandmother, she became Gom. Gom was known for her humming, big laugh, fresh chocolate chip cookies, and the always epic Christmas Eve. One very special year, Christmas Eve was at Mauna Kea on the Big Island of Hawaii. Gom and Gampa treated. The memories go on, as Gom was game for anything. Gom never forgot her roots. Visits to northern Michigan were a hoot for the O'Rourkes and the Sebastians alike. Even after the love of her life passed away in 1994, Gom traveled. She visited her children, her grandchildren, her siblings. Of course, she proudly went to the weddings and held with glee each great-grandchild. 19 in all so far.
Well, it snowed last night in my hometown, and all the schools have been shut down. The snowplows prowl the streets all by themselves. I remember times that happened to me, and how glad I was to be set free. I wish that I could feel that way right now. Maybe it's something in the water. Maybe it's something in the air. Maybe the leaves in the autumn that keep me coming back here. I'm a Michigan girl, raised in the shade of the white pine, walk the trails of the porcupine, proud to call this home mine. Well, I heard they closed the bridge last week, 'cause the wind was high where the water's deep. Cars backed up for miles on both sides. I remember when we rode big back, afraid we'd fall between the cracks. And I can't wait to take that northern ride again. Maybe it's something in the water. Maybe it's something in the air. Maybe the leaves in the autumn that keep me coming back here. I'm a Michigan girl, raised in the shade of the white pine, walk the trails of the porcupine, proud to call this home mine. When the autumn leaves start coming down, dancing red and gold and oak tree brown, the kiss of summer still upon the air, I will somehow find my way back home to the golden dunes and the big lake foam, to the rhythm of my heartbeat and my soul. Maybe it's something in the water. Maybe it's something in the air. that keep me coming back here. I'm a Michigan girl, raised in the shade of the white pine, walked the trails of the porcupine, proud to call this home mine. I'm a Michigan girl, raised in the shade of the white pine, walked the trails of the porcupine, proud to call this home mine. I'm a Michigan girl, a Michigan girl, a Michigan